everyone thought, okay, well, how are we going to get to online? You know, it was just very tactical. You know, we were responding very tactically. You know, particularly in Blaine, we have a lot of areas that it's very difficult to get internet connections. Kids just didn't have access. They didn't have laptops. We had teachers who had no idea how to manage an online presence. So it was a learn as you go, and it was a real scramble to try and meet as many different options and opportunities as possible. We were, as a school district, we were making photocopies of lesson plans and worksheets and all kinds of materials and information that would be available for pickup for parents for the week's lessons if they didn't have internet. We worked with local cell phone providers to get hotspots and tried many different, you know, being right on the border, tried many different providers to see who would have the best coverage. And we talk about funding, you know, that was to support a lot of these efforts. It went to paying for hotspots. And if anyone has had to manage internet on a cell phone hotspot, you know how difficult and quickly you use up whatever data options you had. Then you're sort of lost. And then we also had a challenge with Chromebooks and laptops and personal devices and what worked and what didn't work. And you know, we had 3 children at home during that time, and we had cable internet, and as soon as all 3 of them got online, it was like dial-up. I mean, we were back in the dark ages, and the kids had been so ready, so prepared. We tested everything, but as soon as you went on, it didn't work. And we were in a good I mean, we had no reason to believe we would have any troubles. So it was troubleshooting from the very beginning, and it was just constant. And frustration from parents was so understandable because we had it ourselves. On our school board, let's see, 3 of us are parents of students in school actively, and at least 1 member has grandchildren in the school district actively. And it was a learning curve for all of us. And then you have teachers who, at varying levels of even desire to learn how to use the internet. So the anecdotes from the kids, you know, some teachers would just sort of log on once and then disappear and, you know, oops, I had trouble with my connection, here's your assignment. So it was a challenge for everyone, and we thought, well, we'll just get through to the end of the year. You know, we'll just try to make it. But of course, all the other activities and parts of school that are not just the learning parts, you know, losing the activities for sports was huge. You know, just to have kids outside and being able to run around and see each other. The isolation was devastating for the kids. The senior events for the seniors, you know, these were times, and you know, it is one thing I think for parents, because many of us experienced all of those events, so we really knew what we felt like the kids were missing. They didn't know. Many of them, you know, without having had it happen before, they weren't quite sure what they were missing. So we did the best we could to make as many of those events possible as possible, given the ever-changing, constantly evolving rules and regulations and restrictions, and trying to be as creative as possible. And through all of this, you sort of wondered, we figured, well, it's just a couple of months, you know, if we can get back into school, we'll pick it up. You know, the kids they're quick learners, you know, we'll catch up. And then we get through the summer and we've got all these great plans. You know, we're gonna make it, we're gonna do it, we'll be back in school, we'll be in person, we'll have some level of contact with children. And then, you know, lo and behold, right before school starts, the rug really gets pulled out from under us, I think, as an organization, as a district, as parents, as children. And that was really devastating, and that was really, I think, the beginning of the internal challenges that we all started to feel, because there was not, you know, when on a school board in Blaine, there's 5 of us, and we work as a cohesive unit. You know, things that get voted on, it has to be majority rule. Consensus carries the day. And so as individuals, you know, we got a lot of contact, a lot of outreach from parents, from teachers, from just frustrated community members. And it was the first time, I think, that we as individuals had that much directed at us. And you know, it was such a learning curve. And I will say too that generally speaking, I mean, I've been on the school board for 4 years, and I still learn new things that I didn't know that we can do, that we can't do, that we're supposed to do. The training for school board, I think my first meeting, you know, we had the elections in November. My first meeting was December to be sworn in, and I did my swearing in and sat down, and we started voting. And I just was so surprised that I was unprepared. I was unprepared for exactly what was required in being a school board member.
Get back.
And so I would have to say that's one of the biggest challenges I've continued to feel for 4 years, is just not understanding from the beginning what we needed to know, how to do, when to do it, what our responsibilities were, what our rights were as individual board members, what we did as a group. And we do have a state organization, there's training available, but like everything else, you are learning as you go, and everybody is at a different level of understanding because we all come onto the board at different times. So throughout the 4 years, you know, people rotate in and out, and then you're starting again, and you got to bring people along, and everyone's just a little bit confused, So when you're getting a lot of direct outreach from community members, and we're also not allowed to speak directly to each other more than one-on-one or 2 at a time. At any time you have 3 school board members, you have a quorum. So we are not able to get together and talk outside of an open meeting forum, which is, you know, the rules are there for a good reason. The rule is there so that business doesn't get conducted without the public being able to witness it, to participate in it. But that does make things a little difficult if you have new school board members who don't quite understand how this all works, and just sort of sit in a school board meeting, and they're just following along as we go. So that was a challenge, and everyone felt so guilty and upset about, should I respond? If I get an email, should I not? But if we all respond, then it's policy making. Then if I respond and it's different than what from someone else says, then it's conflicting information, and we are supposed to be working together. So that was all very challenging, and we were constantly trying to figure out how do we navigate that. Also, we had a new superintendent who really came on board in the beginning of the school year of COVID. So we were trying to get to know each other in all of this, and then everything went very strange, and it was hard for us to develop relationships, hard for him to develop relationships with the rest of the teachers. And you know, I think we can all at some level agree that going virtual, while it has some of its advantages, you know, you can work from anywhere, you could be wearing a nice top and wearing your pajama pants, and you know, you could roll over, as the kids would do in the morning. They would roll over and turn on their phone and be like, oh, I'm at school now. So some advantages, but some real disadvantages, because we've lost our ability to interact with each other. And, you know, and wearing masks even, you lose an entire sense. I mean, your ability to see and interact and have facial expressions and